Welcome to Kazad-Dûm, the campaign. Episode number 26, I believe. I'm Captain Turtle Waffle. I'm very happy that you're here, joining me as, well, people have been joining me for a while now on this little campaign, and I'm happy to have you along with them. We have essentially a bit of a situation on our hands, because Mordor was expanding way too rapidly into Gondor. We just couldn't have it, and so we had to go down. You might say, what are dwarves doing in Gondor? How did you get there? Well, we took a boat. You took a boat, you might say. Dwarves don't go by boat. But yes, they do. This time they do. They have, we have a lovely little fleet going. A whole fleet of little ships that are darting around the place, with armies coming to and fro the land below. And Dol Amroth has been stabilized, Ithelen claimed, Ethring tamed, and Tarnos, well, yeah, sort of saved from being inflamed by the Great Eye. And then we decided it would be a marvellous idea just to peace out with Mordor and leave them to stew in Calambel while the remnants of Gondor go and take it back. At least that's the idea. We'll see if that works out. But of course, if they keep expanding west, then we'll have to do something really drastic. But for now, my ideal situation is one in which we can just sort of send this lovely army up there toward the Minas Tirith kind of area, because these settlements are now beginning to get a bit dwarven, if you will. 60% dwarven culture over here, feast hall coming in, it's only getting better from here. Yep. And seeing as how our peace with the Great Eye for now is pretty unstable, we're going to set some catapults into the fort over here. They showed some interest in knocking them on the head, so we are going to show some interest in knocking them back. Maybe not both of the catapults, though. Nah, we'll just have one. We'll have the one with 15. 15 is enough. And what else is going on in Middle-earth, you might ask? Well, we have a little Johanan here doing his thing, but most importantly, most concerningly, we have a huge army outside of Angzul, and we'll want to take care of it. Plenty of generals here in the Angmarim stronghold that bears a pretty striking name. Oh yes, we also found the One Ring. That's also a thing. We'll get back to that. So, let's attack Angzul, because we can. We don't care about Vanazir. He will come in, he will try to help his friends, and I'm sure he will succeed in getting in. But the problem is, once he's in, he's trapped. Because we have catapults. And that's that. So welcome to the episode where Balin kicks it off by kicking Vanazir and Fjordell squarely in the face. And look at that face. That's a face that just needs a good kicking. So I'm going to quickly save it for procedural reasons and hope that Balin lands on the right foot.
The time's come, lads. To battle.
It was in the last episode that we started discussing the Rings of Power, the 7th episode. And since that is an episode that basically features the siege of a big place, let's make matters even more charming by besieging another interesting place. This is Angzul, everybody. Now, this is not completely tower infested as it might seem, which is lucky for us. We only have to take out 2 of the buggers. Only the outer ring has tower formations. And that isn't the tower at all. No. So where do we want to go from? I'm thinking that this side might be interesting, actually. Yeah, let's just stay here. You know, Balin, you have a decent idea. So we're going to pull those forward. We're going to bring in the First Legion in all of its glory. I mean, just look at the bloody pikes they have. We have Dragon Slayers. We have Kazad-Dûm Guardians. We have the Hammers of Gundabad making their battle debut, as it were. Lovely, lovely guys. With very fancy armor. Not the best they could ever possibly get, so we might be able to upgrade them. We just need some Owlin plate for them. And of course we have Balin's Guard. With 38 defenses. Just mad. Mad numbers, I tell you. So, how do we do this? You know, let's keep the Dragon Guard together with Balin. They'll be happy there. And then the rest can sort of support each other, I think. This is a melee heavy army. It's basically catapults and melee, and it's going to be great. So, first step, smack tower.
They hope to make up in numbers what they lack in courage.
And our enemy's reinforcements are coming in from over here. I assume they're going to try to bolster the defending numbers, as opposed to just trying to attack us outright. And if they do, I'll just be very, very happy. So yeah, bring down that thing. Actually, we can even get closer now they're vacating the premises. So, talking about Rings of Power Episode 7. Let's discuss a bit of world building. Language is important in Tolkien's world. I think anyone who's read The Lord of the Rings would be absolutely aghast at anything else. But this is interesting. We're not really damaging the tower at all. That makes me sad. Huh. Okay. Well, we're going to go for the gate then. Okay. Interesting. Invulnerable towers. But yeah. Gladly the gates are not.
Ah, we have breached our enemy's wall.
So that's good. Okay. In we go. Ooh, hello there. Strike team, get in there. We have a bunch of halberdiers who are ready to make our life miserable. But apparently, yeah, I hope these towers won't be shooting. It seems that they don't, actually. Alright then. Much ado about nothing, I guess. In that case, we will just, yeah, we'll keep it stiff. Exactly. We'll just poke them to death with our pikes. That's what I'm thinking.
Our soldiers have proved their worth today. The enemy's walls belong to us now.
So, let's talk about language then. Much has been made already about the writing of the Rings of Power. But it is beginning to dawn on me just how bloody stupid the writing is. And it's stupid in subtle ways. And not so subtle ways. One thing is, of course, the lines themselves. You know, the actual lines that that are in the script and that the cast and crew have to work with. I'm kind of fascinated with this script in its badness and its madness, because madness it certainly has. It seems that they knew full well that by the end of the first season, where they got lambasted for their writing, and rightly so, I would say, they seemed to hire some script consultants just to tart up the script for the second season. So all the bits of all the structure of the scenes and why people are saying what they're doing and all those kind of things, they're sort of still in there. The basic building blocks of a script, character, motivation, action, explanation, exposition, all those things are the same. But they have replaced the words, which is the laziest fucking way to doctor a script, and that's what they went on doing, it seems. Where they basically said to someone, hey, can you make this sound a bit more, credible? Give it some Tolkien-esque gravitas. And so the writers were tasked with this thankless job to try to polish a turd, essentially. And so they did. And the turd is more polished. But that just makes it even more infuriating because you can see that they're trying to aim for something higher than the trash that preceded it in the first season. But still, all the basic building blocks of the script are still exactly the same as they were before. So you end up with prettier dialogue that is still, on the face of it, just as bad as before. Hello, Warg Raiders. So that's quite baffling, I have to say. Okay, some of the army is actually moving this way. It's interesting. They're moving about the place. Huh. Ooh, color me surprised. They're trying different things. Okay. Well, that means we will try to put a catapult over here. Oh, nice shot there, friends. Very nice. Let's put catapults over here. Come on. You guys get there. Yes, I think we've done enough with our things over here. We've actually killed a few of our own. But we've also just completely decimated the defenders, which is always nice. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. Now let's have some examples of lines. Essentially. I mean, beyond the basic expository dialogue, which is sort of dull to recount. But I have a few little bits of writing here that I had in mind. So, go back to your hill and be buried. Gil-galad, king of the elves. What kind of second-rate die-hard quip is that? And why does the High King of the Elves bloody say it? I really have the hardest time squaring that with anything remotely sensible. Okay. It's just, yeah, an absolute befuddlement of a line. It's just, every time I think about it, I cringe so badly. It is, it makes my blood boil. And Gil-galad apparently says this to the troll that he is fighting. There's a troll at Eregion because it has to be a troll, I guess. And ouch. Smackty dude. Or so they have a troll. They're fighting it. Hooray! And I mean this. Yeah. If you had seen me during my viewing of that episode, you would basically be witnessing an audible groan at that point. Because that was just the most obnoxiously bad line I've seen in a long time. And the last place I want that is in a work inspired by Tolkien, because you can't even say it's based on Tolkien anymore, even though they like to. No, this is not based off of Tolkien. This is paraphrasing, not even paraphrasing Tolkien. It is using the IP of Tolkien, the Tolkien estate, to produce shareholder value although I actually have my doubts that it's even accomplishing that. So, given just how magnificently the whole discussion about this is just stifled. The first season saw lively criticism, and this time around, there's just not that life. People are just, yeah, this show sucks. We're sort of, what do you want us to do about it, kind of thing. So, okay, let's have another line. I'm really, yeah. Let's have another one. So, we also have a chance to show our quality thing. Okay, so this random Faramir line from the Lord of the Rings, you know, apparently that was such a strong line that they wanted it back. And of course, fair enough. Anything from, well, almost anything from the Lord of the Rings films is head and shoulders above the writing of the Rings of Power. You can take almost basically any random line you find in the Lord of the Rings films. It's just going to outshine anything in the show by a country mile. So that's in there, and it's an obnoxious callback. What else do we got? We got the whole thing of sort of, at dawn we're going to be looking toward the north because that's where the dwarves will be coming from. Ugh, okay. So that's another annoying little callback to the films. Because this show, I mean, they say they want to surprise us. The showrunners in interviews, they keep saying like, yeah, we want to surprise people. That's why we are not doing Anatar conventionally, why we are making up this wacko plot with him going and coming back and blah 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 blah. Halbrand is in there instead of the Lord of the Gifts, and then in second season we have the Lord of the Gifts and blah 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 blah. That's just to surprise you people. But then you keep making the stupidest callbacks imaginable. It is like, it is so bloody inconsistent in its application of its own logic. And that may be what hurts me the most about this show. It is really the inconsistency of even its own logic. That makes my blood boil. Anyhow. Oh, some Longbowmen have come out to get smashed in the head.
Good tidings. The enemy general lies dead. We have sent the cart to hell.
Oh, which was that? Defending one? Yeah, Fjorl. Yeah. Hello. Okay. Catapults, just hold the line. Ish. You're under attack right now, and it's nasty. I know. But we have Guardians coming in. Oh, Balin's Guard. You may need to go and do some stuff over here, because our poking them is apparently not doing enough to deter them from shooting at us. It's a bit weird, but there you go. Poking, everybody poking, left and right. Okay. Here's what we're going to do with these. We're going to do a little bit of a bombing campaign. Come on, get as close as you can. That'll be okay. More of the spearmen. More of the witch knights. What's next on the agenda? I've written so many notes. So, yeah.
Half the enemy force remains.
There's an anthropological note at play. This also relates to the world building, because Tolkien was pretty good at making the races distinct and also communicating why they were distinctive. Like, yeah, he basically said on several occasions that the dwarves are basically thinking unlike any other people on Earth. You know, their thoughts are such that it is hard for other races to even fathom. That's one example. But in this show, every race you have basically feels like a barely disguised Americanism. That's what it all feels like. Feels like full-on Americanism every time somebody opens their bloody mouth. And of course, there's a bit of that in the Pete Jackson films. It needs to be saleable to a Western audience in particular, you know, in the global sense of the word. And that basically means pandering to American sensibilities more than not. But gee williker Christ, can't it be done just a tiny bit more subtly? Oh, hello there. You coming out to play? Well, come on then. No? No, you don't want to? Okay. I'm going to shoot you right down the middle then. See how you like it. Yeah, so basically, everybody feels like different flavors of American. And it's a little sad. Because the elves don't feel wise. They don't feel like they've lived through all the ages that they have. Everybody seems to be acting with the perspective of someone who will die once they reach 80. Which is the human perspective. But dwarves get older, elves get older, even many human beings get older than that in this world. Even, I mean, Sauron, Anatar, you know, you could say that he is portrayed a little bit better, but even then, his actions must be constrained into this time span of just a few weeks, and it feels like, yeah, it feels like the human perspective just overrides everything. And it's a bloodied mess as a result. Because then a lot of the plot points that they try to use from the books just don't work. Because they were constructed about a narrative that plays out over hundreds of years. That is, of course, something that human beings will not be able to relate to. So it is jettisoned. It's like, yeah, everything that the broad audience cannot relate to is just taken out of it. And it is absolutely to the detriment of every single character involved. But this is not the worst. I mean, there are so many weird little contrivances. So, let's just talk about consistency of world building, right? Orcs don't like sunlight. We have known this. I mean, if you've only watched the films, you still know this, right? Because Gandalf flat out tells you. No, the orcs have no love of daylight, so Sauron spreads darkness to ease their passage to war, and he does so through clouds. Woohoo! Hooray for that. Alright, and in this show, this is also communicated, initially at least. Early on, we see examples of orcs chasing people through forests, and then they come to the edge of the forest, and the sun is out, and they basically go, nah, we're not going to do that. No, ow, 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 the sun burns us. Okay, yeah. I was happy to see that. That's a good take. I mean, it makes them seem a little bit like vampires, but it was definitely inspired by that in Tolkien's writing. So, fine, good, no problem. Let's take it that way. Okay, then comes this Battle of Eregion, and you have a huge open clearing where the orcs are marching out. And it's mostly cloudy, so you think, okay, that's not too bad. But then suddenly, in many, many, many shots, there are rays of light hitting orcs. And they just brush it off. There's not even an acknowledgement that they shouldn't be able to withstand that without severe pain. And that's when you just realize, oh, wait. The scene didn't say that there should be sun coming through. The scene in the script said, ooh, it's cloudy, blah, 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 blah. But the day's weather when they shot this turned out to be different. So they just rolled with it, literally. Let the cameras roll. And now they have orcs in sunlight acting like it's no big deal. And it is so infuriating. Because the logic of the very universe they're trying to build collapses in on itself at that very moment. If you can't trust the orcs to suffer in sunlight, what can you even trust anymore? I guess you can still trust the rings to do ring things. Sort of, maybe, but not really. Because even the rings they get wrong. Let's talk about the rings, and let's specifically talk about what language of, the language of magic of the rings that the show apparently is comfortable with. Because they take everything from the Lord of the Rings films, as we have so often mentioned. Problem with that vis-a-vis the Rings of Power is that we didn't actually see any of the Rings of Power in action in the Lord of the Rings, beyond, of course, the one ring, the Master Ring. The Master Ring we get a whole bunch of, but we don't get much about the Elven Rings. Beyond the Nazgul wearing them, we get nothing about the human rings, and the Dwarven rings are barely mentioned. So we have no frame of reference for what they do in the cinematic world, and this apparently means, since the showrunners have only seen the films or whatever, that the show only has reference for what the One Ring does, and so everything must be channeled through that. This is a problem, because the One Ring is meant to be unique, and it's the other rings that are meant to be, well, distinctive in the same kind of features, that they enhance the powers of whoever wears them, and they can render wearers invisible apparently, but apparently they don't always do that, and they are also able to preserve the power of magic, so to speak, in the universe. At least locally speaking. So the elves of Lothlorien, for instance, they are helped by Galadriel being able to use her ring to preserve the magic of Lothlorien, keep the forces of evil, and also just the general entropy of the universe at bay. Keep Lothlorien green and all that stuff. And likewise with Elrond and his ring in Rivendell, which of course is not a part of the Rings of Power, blah 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 blah, but you know what I mean. In the Third Age, that is the main use of the Elven rings, for instance. And the Dwarven rings, we just barely don't get a word for them and for what they're used for. But every character that comes near a Dwarven ring, for instance, seems to observe that these Dwarven rings are actively corrupting people. Now, we have discussed before on this channel how they don't seem to understand that it's not the rings that corrupt people, it's the power that the rings gives people that corrupts them. It's not like an active drug that is going into their brain and going, haha, you will be evil now. No. It is the human instinct for amassing greater strength and power in order to preserve oneself and the ones that we love that ends up corrupting us from within, and the ring supercharges this because a ring is able to present you with more power than you could ever dream of attaining otherwise, and that is just pure simple addiction. It is addiction to power. That is what Tolkien warns about, and that is why it is such a potent little metaphor. and why it's so applicable, especially in our modern age of such technological power that the human race has never known before. But of course, The Lord of the Rings is a warning against all this, because it basically tells us that the powers of industry, the powers of human invention, when channeled even with the desire to do good, we can end up actually just unleashing our inner demons through it. And because the technology we use will never be any better than our own moral compass. That is the point, right? So, a central tenet of Tolkien's storytelling and the morality of the universe he has established is essentially completely undercut by the fact that the show just says, no, the rings drug you and then you go evil. Like, it's just... it's not that there aren't things that do that in the world. I mean, it's like the Morgul blade that stabs Frodo on Weathertop, right? It would, all of the things being equal, it would have gotten to his heart. You know, the shard that broke off, yeah, it would get into his heart, and then he would essentially become a Nazgul. He would essentially be drugged by magic into becoming evil. And of course, Sauron had to basically take over the Nazgul through the One Ring in order for them to be his loyal servants, which they invariably ended up being. Yeah. And of course, the Master Ring's particular power is that it can channel, it can simply control the wearers of rings. At least through the will of Sauron, because Sauron is the control freak. So, of course, that is the power. That is the trait that it amplifies beyond all measure. Yeah. So, that is a thing. But that's not the only thing. There are so many things wrong with rings and the Rings of Power, and that is such a shame. What's the other thing? Well, do you remember the line that Galadriel has in the beginning where she says, "And into this ring, the Master Ring," right? Remember? Sauron pours his cruelty and his malice and will to dominate all life. And, well, not to put too fine a point on it, he doesn't do that with any of the other rings, right? Okay. And yet, the show now posits that Sauron literally gives Celebrimbor blood disguised as Mithril. Because he's a Master of Illusions, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Master of Illusions, buying that completely. Absolutely. He could do that. He could make things appear what they are not. I'm fine with that. That is absolutely canonizable, I think. But to suggest that all the human rings have Sauron's literal blood inside them is bananas and crazy town, and I cannot abide it. I mean, as you know, it is sort of for one, it's sort of the dumb manifestation of him pouring himself into the rings. You know, it's not an abstract sense of him putting his spirit, imbuing the craftsmanship with his malice. No. He's, in this show, apparently that is translated into literally pouring his own blood into the metalwork. It's very questionable. Very questionable from where I'm sitting. But more to the point, it's also the fact that not only is this done into the Master Ring, I mean, of course, we haven't seen it created in the show yet. We don't know how they're going to do that. But I'm sure that, at this point, he might just carve it out of his own bones or something. I don't know. But him literally pouring his own blood into the human rings is just so baffling. So baffling. And also there's the fact, just a tiny little aside, that, you know, initially, Anatar and Celebrimbor, they didn't set about to make 7 for the dwarves and 9 for men and 3 for elves. No, 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 no. Initially, they just made 16 rings, which, you know, that which were created, and they were rings of power, and Sauron basically just stole those rings and went, meh, apparently they didn't work on the elves too well. Fair enough. Then the elves made 3 rings of their own. Again, Celebrimbor just acting on his own. And Sauron made the Master Ring and thought, okay, maybe I can influence the elves that way. The elves basically say, no, 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 no. We're going to take off the rings and be unimpeachable by evil, so to speak. And then, of course, with the 16 rings, the failed experiment that they were, so to speak, in his hands, Sauron then sets out to still control Middle-earth in whatever way he can, and he sees that his best opportunity to do this is to influence other races, like men and dwarves. So, that is what he ends up trying. And that works a little better when it comes to the human 9, as it were, and the 7 for the dwarves end up just backfiring because the dwarves just take the rings and go into hiding and just don't come out. Just shut the door on him, metaphorically speaking. So this basic origin story for how the rings came to be is just completely disregarded. And you could do that even, you know, I know that Amazon don't want to do the long time spans of Tolkien. They wanted to make it brisk, have it all done in a year sort of thing, instead of having it done over centuries. Because that's a bit more relatable. We can squish in some human characters as well. Chupa 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 chup. Double our relatability points, I guess. And then all of it could come together in a big blaze of glory. And yeah, they could do that. But I just, yeah, but just at least get the basic order of the rings right. Yeah. And then, of course, once Sauron was defeated in the Battle of the Dagorlad and all that, that's when the Elven Rings came into use once again. You know, Sauron was defeated, the ring was lost. We might as well use these things, and they end up being used also by Gandalf, obviously, who uses it for his fire magic purposes. And so it all fits together so neatly in the original version, and every attempt to change this just turns into a jumbled bleeding mess. A jumbled bleeding mess, that's what it is. But I'm not done yet. I have so much more ire for this show. You won't believe it. Anyway, but for now, let's see if we can end the turn. I think we can. We're sort of doing... yeah, everything's sort of okay. Yeah. Turn 152. And then we will talk about the secret dwarven tunnel to Eregion. Shall we?
Is that what you want?
Oh, Haldir on the siege. Well, I mean, if I had this army, I could definitely take out these Uruks. I hope that they can. If not, well, then we're just losing our allies, I guess. They might actually be done after that. Is he the faction heir still? Yeah, he's still the heir, so Celeborn still lives. Well, that's something. Okay, let's have another turn. Oh, hello there. I was about to forget about the clans of Enedwythe and me wanting to purchase Breakast. I will offer you anything but love. I can't give you anything but love. Oh, baby. That's the only thing I got plenty of. Oh, baby. Welcome to turn 152. We are to trade with what's left of Rohan and break off this rioting. But we do have some cell sorts in there. Oh my god, this place is hard to control, apparently. We need a minus quarters. Sharpish. We need a spy. We have a spy there already, but we need another one. Let's see. 40%. It's getting better. Okay. We're gonna need a special envoy. Gloin, get out there. Build towers along the way. Might as well. Summoned by the White Council. The leader of the White Council to answer the threat of Mordor. Oh. We can press accept if you intend to attend the meeting. Decline if we don't want to. Be careful of the possible consequences of your decision. Well, attend the meeting. So, yeah, 25 turns to bring the One Ring to Imladra as well. I mean, that's not too far. We could do that. First, we just want to take over more of a Tarth so that we have safe passage throughout the land. That should be good. Alright then. Harad, hello. Feast hall here. Let's get a minus union perhaps, or maybe a merchant's wharf. It almost makes me think of good old Worf from Star Trek, you know. A series with far better writing than the Rings of Power. God. Okay. So what can we say further? Well, since we have the dwarves here, the dwarves of Kazad-Dûm no less, let's talk briefly. No, let's talk at length about the fucking Dwarven tunnel into Eregion. Because apparently there is such a thing. And it stands to reason, sure, that there might be a tunnel. But wait till you get a load of how exactly Galadriel decides to use it. Because it really begs belief, I have to say. She is situated in the Orc camp on, ostensibly, the southwest side of Eregion, okay? The mountains are on the northeastern side of Eregion. Or charitably speaking, you could say that maybe the Orc army is in the west and the mountains in the east, okay? Right? The main thing here, for our purposes, is the mountains where the dwarves reside are on the opposite side of where Galadriel is. So how in the freaking heck are you going to explain to me why the dwarves would make a tunnel into Eregion in the first place? That's a little... I mean, that's really a generous thing from the elves, if you think about it. And the dwarves too, for that matter. Right? So why would you make a tunnel that does not lead from where you are into your friendly neighbor, but from the other side of where you are into your friendly neighbor? What? Eh? Am I talking complete nonsense here? Right? Let's assume that the dwarves are living in the mountains. I don't think that's too bad of an assumption, really. And you have Eregion sitting here or something. Right? Okay. Where do you make a tunnel? It could come from the north or the east. That's basically it. Otherwise, you're not going from where the dwarves are. Where is Galadriel? She's over here. Where the Orc army is. Right? The Orc army is here. She says to Alandir, oh yeah, don't worry about getting into Eregion. I know this dwarven tunnel. Lady, what the fuck? How? It makes no sense. Surely, if she is to use the Dwarven tunnel into Eregion, she will have to go into Kazad-Dûm and then to the tunnel. I don't know. I mean, and this is another thing. They don't even show you any Dwarven tunnel. They just say, oh, how do we get her into the settlement? Into the actual town of Eregion? Oh, the dwarves built a tunnel, I guess? Without thinking of even the basic geography of where it would be located. It is daft, is what it is. I can feel myself getting worked up about this, because this just demonstrates the sheer laziness with which this series has been made. It is... like, it is such an example of them having to write themselves out of holes that nobody told them to dig in the first place.
Aye, my king.
I mean, why does Galadriel need to go into Eregion during the siege? Why do you write it in that way?
Aye, closing on the enemy.
It is absolutely bonkers that any of this ever got greenlit for shooting. It's just, I'm aghast. I'm aghast at the writing that I have witnessed. I am aghast at the apparent incompetence of storytelling. And when we speak about the incompetence of storytelling, perhaps we should also discuss, to some degree, the origin of this show. Well, the basic origin is Amazon purchases the rights, Amazon wants to use the rights. Okay, and then, you know, apparently their strategy was get the rights first and then get someone to actually do something with it, with those rights. Which is a little bit putting the cart before the horse. But then, what happens? Well, they apparently put out calls, you know, who wants to follow up Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films? Some of the most successful fantasy ever put on screen. And of course, The Hobbit is a little bit hit and miss, but at least the films were still broadly successful. A clusterfuck of proportions in their own right, but definitely better than the trash that has come after. Now, with the very tall order put in place for the follow-up, having to, you know, follow Peter Jackson's vision for Middle-earth, rightly, apparently they've had a pretty hard time actually filling that particular slot. You know, the basic showrunners, who are going to take this on? Who is going to take Tolkien and turn it into a successful television show, even with all the money in the world? Well, apparently nobody did, because they ended up settling simply for someone because J.J. fucking Abrams, of all people on broad screen Earth, decided to put in a good word for them. And how many credits? How many film credits do these people have? Well, basically they have but a few. I'll try to see if I can find them. Just hang on a minute while I end the turn. Well, hello there, Captain Manthor. Apparently it is your death over which I will be ranting about screenwriters and showrunners. Thrar, do not let me down. Well, you have 4 catapult crews, they'll be fine. Welcome, sirs. Oh dear. So, welcome to Colonia. This place will be defended, and we shall discuss the screen credits, the production credits, or lack thereof, of Mr. Patrick McKay, showrunner, well, co-showrunner, really, for Rings of Power. So this was the guy, apparently picked by the illustrious company of the Bazonian Empire to bring Middle-earth to life. Alright, so I've just placed all our stuff. Now we're ready to get going with this battle. So, have you all thought about just how many production and screenwriting credits this showrunner for the most expensive television show in history might have? Well, let me just scroll here. So we have credits upcoming. So of course current, right? Most known for Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. No surprise there, right? 2022 to 2024 so far. 15 episodes of television is what they've released apparently. Because the last one is about to come out this week. Then we have Flash Gordon, which is still in development. And apparently he's credited with an earlier screenplay. So not even the screenplay they're going with, just a screenplay that they won't be using. Bear this in mind. This will become relevant once again. Then we have Star Trek Beyond. And people will go, oh, that's an interesting film. I mean, it's pretty big, you know. Pretty big movie. But I remember something about Simon Pegg writing that, wasn't it? Yeah, he did. Because do you know what the job this Mr. Patrick did? Yeah, good Mr. McKay. Apparently, his credit is as an uncredited writer. So he did writing that was tossed out to such an extent that they basically were unable, that he wasn't credited. You know, if your work on a feature doesn't really amount to more than maybe, let's say, 25%, you don't have to be credited, really. So apparently they used so little of his script that he's gone uncredited on the production, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. So apparently the scenario that happened there was something akin to them having brought Simon Pegg in to go, you know, can we spice this script up a bit? And he ended up replacing so much of it that he became the de facto screenwriter instead. Though I assume that's also why it has a pretty bad finale overall in the writing department, because that's the stuff they couldn't really get around in the production process. So Simon Pegg just had to eat his own word salad on that one, as it were. So basically what we have now is he has come up with a script that will not be used for Flash Gordon, and he came up with a script that was mostly not used for Star Trek Beyond. Let's continue. Jungle Cruise. Uncredited script revisions. What is Jungle Cruise, you might ask? Well, it's based on Disneyland's theme park ride where a small riverboat takes a group of travelers through a jungle. It is apparently this film that had The Rock. Yeah? Okay. So he, So he did script revisions for that film, and apparently he did so few of those revisions that, they just didn't have to credit him there either. So apparently this man's work is so brilliant that nobody ever uses it. And that is literally his credits as far as I could tell. And now Amazon's just like, yeah, you're gonna get a potentially multi-billion-dollar franchise, but over the coming years. That is absolutely astounding to me. I just cannot, for the life of me, see how you entrust someone like that with something like that. It's just utterly bizarre.
Only half the enemy force remains.
But that's only one part of the dynamic duo, you may say. Yes, it is only one part of the dynamic duo, and unfortunately Thrar has been killed. Oh, yeah, perhaps we should not have put him on the wall. That was my mistake. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to smack down the people over there.
Good tidings. The enemy general lies dead. We have sent the cart to hell.
Well, that's nice. Now the others will run pretty quickly, I should say. Come on. Get shooting. Yeah, good. They're working on it. There's enough for everybody. Let's take a look at his partner in crime, as it were. I'm not even sure that's a figurative statement anymore. So. John D. Payne. Payne being the operative word there.
The battle is very much in our favor.
Writer, producer, script and continuity department. Oh yeah, great. I love people who want to ensure continuity. He apparently also worked on the Flash Gordon thing and the Star Trek Beyond thing. And, I mean, basically they've shared their... I mean, they have the same credits, apparently. Oh, and he's a practicing member of the Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints. Jesus McBollocks. Yeah. So, it's the same credits all around. It's as baffling as it sounds. I really, for the life of me, cannot imagine just having these people coming up to me, DMing me, or knocking on my door, figuratively, literally, whatever, and just saying, yeah, we're here inquiring about helming the biggest television franchise in American cinematic history. Oh, what have you done? Well, we wrote a script for this, which has been mostly tossed out. We have done revisions for this, which were so few and far between that we didn't have to be credited. And we have also done an initial script for this film, which may or may not be finished, and which have been kept to such a vanishingly small degree that I am actually not quite convinced that we'll be credited there either.
The enemy army flees the field. After them.
Why would you take them seriously?
The enemy are utterly vanquished. This is a great victory.
I mean,
I
I just...
the mightiest of generals.
It begs belief. It really does. So, we'll need to see how Kiloniak gets through the next few seasons. Speaking of seasons. How does Galadriel even get out of the orc camp? Let's talk about that. Oh, and the Dwarves are attacking us now. Of course they are. Oh.
Aye, sire.
Gee willikers.
This had best be worth our time.
It's very much worth your time. Yeah, so speaking of that, let's briefly discuss Elrond and Galadriel kissing. If you have not watched the show, I wish I was fucking kidding.
Aye.
Come and
It-
get me, coward.
Move out. Closing in the enemy.
It is some of the most baffling screenwriting I've ever seen. So, basically, the name of the game for Elrond is, I want Galadriel to have a brooch that I have with a needle on it, so that she can use the needle to basically unlock her chains and escape. So, disregarding the fact that this is just the most tropey way to go about this possible, they managed to over-trope even that. And the trope that they went with ended up being, okay, Elrond is going to do the classic, I'm going to kiss her, the orcs will be distracted, presumably, and then, yeah, that'll be it. And, you know, they won't notice that I'm passing this jailbreaking device to her. I can't even. I'm lost for words on this one. I really... You know, I'm aware that you could try to do that, but as a writer, the moment you make Elrond and Galadriel kiss each other is the moment you should take a good hard look at what you're doing and just reconsider the sequence of events that led you to that place. I'm not saying that given the scenario that they put up that it could be justified. I suppose it could, because it's like the most basic trope in a thriller you can think of. But first of all, Lord of the Rings is not a thriller. It's not a jailbreak film. And secondly, you're the writer. You put them in that situation. Why? Why do you put them in a situation where the only course of action, or best course of action, or whatever you want to argue, is that they should do something that their characters should never be doing? Why do you do that? That's silly. It's absolute sillytude. It is ludicrous. It is banana pants on head. I mean, really, I can't with that. Go out of here. Get out of here. And yet, this shows the pure power of grotesque stupidity. Even with all that, I am kind of compelled to keep watching this tripe.
Set watches. Aye, Lord.
This...
Aye. For an honor, my lord.
Why?
Bringing the men together, sire. Leading
Like I
the
said
men
last
where's
time,
the fight?
it's like a never-ending train wreck. I can't look away from it. It is just
Stopping here.
too damn... It's like watching a self-immolating fantasy just come to fruition in the most spectacular fashion.
I can't even get there. My king.
I'm so sorry. I'm so You see what the Rings of Power have done? They have basically reduced me to a blubbering mess.
Aye, Lord. Aye, sire. Aye. My king.
Is there a ray of sunshine? A little glimmer of hope in the dark?
Aye, Lord.
Well, he seems to think so. He says, "Aye, Lord." So
Move out.
maybe I should just trust
That'll do
that
it today,
particular
sire.
pikeman.
March no further today. Aye, sire. Onward. We've marched our limit. Aye, sire. My king. Aye.
How can...
March no further today. Something to investigate.
How is... Like... What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
Aye. Aye, sire.
That's the line, isn't it?
March.
Just don't hurt me.
That'll do him today, sire.
Just don't hurt me.
March
Rings
no
of power,
further
just don't
today.
do it.
My king.
I can be apathetic to a lot of
Aye, Lord.
things.
Aye.
But
Aye, Lord.
my relationship with Tolkien's world
Aye. Marched our limit. Aye.
demands that I care. And yes, I legitimately feel like Amazon is exploiting that care in the name of just throwing the most overcooked spaghetti on the wall until something sticks. And so overcooked is the spaghetti that it splatters into a porridge. There's just no version of the Rings of Power that can redeem itself, it seems. And when the showrunners go on interviews and say, yeah, we really want to make sort of a thriller thing in Middle-earth, I was like, I mean, no, please don't. But if you do, at least make a good one. But then they bloody do it by having Celebrimbor, greatest smith of Middle-earth, cutting off his own finger instead of breaking up metal. Breaking up metal is literally his job, and has been for thousands of years. And you're telling me that he can't even get around it in this most diabolically fateful moment? Piss off! I don't swear a lot on this channel, but I feel like I'm losing my mind over here. Hello, Shagburg. Are you going to come at Dol Amroth? I mean, please do. I have a catapult crew waiting for you. It basically has your name on it. So that is where we are. Ladies and gents. Gals and pals. I'm so happy to have you along with me. I'm so happy that... I mean, I just needed to get this off my chest. I could feel it. Before recording this episode, I actually went into it sort of thinking, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to just lay it all out there? And to some degree, I just hope that you've stuck with me throughout all this. I hope that I've made some degree of sense. I hope that it's been, if nothing else, then at least entertaining to witness a person in Denmark just lose their bloody mind over American television. Well, television is a bit generous, isn't it? Streaming content! Isn't that the lingo that the producers of this would prefer? I guess it bloody is. Like, demeaning themselves in that bloody way. Come on. But I'm so thankful if you stuck with me throughout all this nonsense. Next episode of this Dwarven campaign will be the Siege of Morvatarth, and we shall see if the Rings of Power can possibly redeem themselves. But at this point, no, they can't. The train has already crashed. All we can do is perhaps save a couple of children from the wreckage. So let's try to do that. Until that then, though, I hope you'll have a good time. I hope you have a lovely day. May some important issues go your way. Be kind to yourself, if they don't. Be good to your loved ones, regardless. Click something on the screen. That'll make me happy. And then I'll see you again soon.